Hello and thank you for watching my video. This video is going to look at the profession guide in Guild Wars 2 for the Revenant. Now obviously, so when I'm actually doing this video, it is in the beta stage, which is what you're going to have the footage in the background from, and there are some aspects that are subject to change, so please bear in mind that there may be an update coming later on in the year after Heart of Thorns is released with a more complete guide. But let's talk about the Revenant. It is a new profession to Guild Wars 2, the first new profession in over 3 years, since launch, in fact, because obviously we had a couple of different professions come into the game that were different to Guild Wars 1, and let's see how it fits into the other, compared to the other professions. It's the third heavy class profession compared to the Guardian and the Warrior. But this profession has a slightly different mechanic, and what we're going to do, we're going to go through lots of the different aspects of the Revenant. How do you think it's going to be playing in the game, just in general, in PvE? What can we expect from PvP? Are we likely to see Revenant become, are we likely to see dominate the game currently, like I'd say engineers are at the moment? And what about world versus world? Are they going to be able to control Zergs? There's a lot of different aspects I'm going to try and cover, and obviously we have to address the fact that there will be the new update to, obviously we've got the update to stability, but there'll be a few features, for example, like taunt and slow, that aren't currently in game, but will be looking to, resistance as well is a boon that you'll see in Heart of Thorns, but won't have currently in the game. So I'm going to bring up what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through some of the skills, as you can see in the footage in the background. I just wanted to give you guys an idea of the aspect. At the moment, the two weapon sets we know that they have are the hammer, which is what you see me wielding here, which I found a lot more useful. The hammer is much easier to use as a ranged weapon. I think it does a lot more damage than the mace axe combo that's more for close range combat. So let's go and have a look at some of the traits that you have as a Revenant. So here we go. This is the corruption trait line. You'll see the different, you've got replenishing despair, demonic defiance. Obviously that gets sort of some of the attributes as well. We've got poison from venom enchantment. Resistance, sorry, that's the boon. But if we go through, you get resistance. Obviously conditions are ineffective, so that's a very good new boon they're bringing in. Poison, increased effectiveness, increased damage for every condition you've got on an opponent, a chance to land chill on when you land a critical. That's going to be quite effective, for particularly to try and slow people down. You've got banishing or spontaneous destruction, and then banish enchantment, so you can really a lot of different aspects to this trait line that we are going to see for Guild Wars 2 coming in with the Heart of Thorns. Burn nearby foes when using an elite skill. Obviously, that's to do with the energy management, how often you can use that. You get to increase your critical hit chance every few seconds, and it's only reset when you land a critical hit. If you're not landing critical, your critical hit chance is going up and up and up and up. So an interesting trait there. Pulsating pestilence, a chance to copy all conditions, and onto yourself or from yourself to an enemy. Chance when struck to gain endurance. That's one of the minor sort of unchangeable traits that you get with retribution. And let's go through the retribution line. We've got planar protection, create a field of mists when you take falling damage. So that's the falling damage resistance. Foes that strike you further away deal less damage. Very good against rangers. So it's obviously a bit more to deal with ranged enemies. Pretty impressive trait line, that one. Taunted foes deal less damage to you, so obviously that's going to be dealing with the taunt condition, and that's a 20% reduction. And there we actually get taunt when you're disabled. You get to taunt the opponent. That's a nice little CC skill there. Gain retaliation after you dodge, quite handy. If you keep up if you've got vigor. Gain protection when you're disabled, so that's reducing damage. Gain might while struck under the effects of retaliation, so another sort of boon stacking, and you get a chance to hit a chance on hit to spawn a destructive hammer, and a chance when struck to heal yourself. So there's a lot of in the retribution trait line, which is going to be giving you boons back and sort of aspects, rewarding yourself for getting hit or getting involved in there. Sorry, there were just a few of the other minor aspects that I didn't actually show you from the corruption trait line, mainly to do with you've got torment lasting longer. You actually take reduced health damage below 5% or below the threshold, and you gain stability as well when you dodge. So but by dodging you can get stability, you can get retaliation as well. So there's a few different aspects here. I'm going through them quite quickly. You can feel free to pause them yourself. This is the Invocation. Obviously we're missing 2 trait lines, so it's not going to be a complete guide here, but you can you've got healing skill, use it. So we go through some of these here. When one of your attacks is negated, your next attack will deal bonus damage. So that's an interesting trait line. Healing skills grant you fury, and that's another thing that's going to allow you to do increased damage. You can obviously invoking a legend is one of the main abilities of the Revenant. So you'll see a lot of traits can actually be affected by when you invoke a legend. Again, increased critical hit chance and the ability to increase might. And the Revenant definitely feels as though it's a much more sort of stable, interesting. I'm just trying to find the best way to describe this class because, as you can see, some of the hammer skills I have to say, I enjoyed playing the Revenant on a hammer. Much less so on the mace axe combination. I felt that it was a little bit, especially when we fought the Wyvern boss fights, I felt it was a bit tricky to use the mace and the axe. Obviously, we'd like to get a few more skills. I tried actually going through some of the weapons that were dropped by enemies to see if I could actually unlock, there were anything else that would unlock. Unfortunately not. It looks as though we're going to get some new skins coming in here, which would be pretty cool. But let's have a look. I love the animation that we get here. This skill 5 is really cool. Even the skill 4, which actually obviously moves the way you actually look. So, by turning the mouse, it's going to be pretty impressive. And the skill 3 is a phenomenal skill where you can actually, as you can see, skill 2 there, that's quite a cool animation. But skill 3 really is, if we watch here, we can go there, you can see it jump out and sort of, you come back. It's going to be quite confusing for the enemy seeing that sort of animation where they're expecting you to jump out, but they're actually just staying in the same position. So this is just a run through and showing you the different animations. Here we go again, that's skill 3. A lot of these skills are just really, really cool. I mean, you've got this one here. This looks like a cool new purple field of area effect, and you've got this the healing animation, pretty standard. And then we've got the Malinx. This is the animation for the the elite skill that we get here. But again, it's when you change sort of legends. Here we go. We get Yalis. The Great Dwarf, right? We get this cool animation, when you all turn to stone, and that's what I wanted to show you guys, that the animations that they've gone through have been much more sort of visually impressive. But on the same side, they're not too, cluttered. That's, I think, one of the issues with all the professions. Everyone loves the road. The brick animation is a really, really lovely animation. If we come to the first-person view, you can really see it again. I did want to try and see if you could see the Great Dwarf above your head, but no. So let's, as we go to Malinx and back to him, you can't really see when you change over. But the animations are really, really well done, and I think that it's something that you're going to really appreciate a lot more than you do with some of the other professions currently. As we can see here, I'm just trying to do a few different things to show you guys. This is first person mode, which I'm actually going to go into the Wyvern boss fight and show you. But here, this is the skill 3. You don't actually see the teleport skill in first person mode, so it is a little bit disappointing from that point of view. But I do love the skill 5 with the hammers. You can see the giant hammer. But here we go again. When you do the skill 3, you actually look down and it's sort of, you don't actually see anything going on. But again, I wanted to see first person because I feel that's definitely going to bring an aspect that's not been prevalent in Guild Wars 2. But let's have a look at the Wyvern boss fight, just from a Revenant's point of view. And this, I'm actually using the Mace Axe combination. I will admit this, that a lot of the time I really didn't know much about the skills I was using and how useful they would be. And I did feel that on the mace and the axe combination, it was a little bit weaker. You can see that the range obviously isn't there. It is a melee. They are melee weapons, but to get up in close, you've got all this fire going around. It was pretty difficult to actually fight the boss at this point. I'm sure most of you that have seen the demos would have seen this boss fight. But I do love, the fact you can get stability. You'll see the stability's popping there. On myself, it's got multiple stacks because I'm on that road. And the difference as well, we're going to talk about Defiance and the new aspects of the Defiance, different change coming into Guild Wars 2 with Heart of Thorn. Well, it's already come into Guild Wars, and what it's going to mean to this type of Defiance skill. You're going to have CCs that will be able to really change the way we fight bosses. And I feel that the Revenant actually has that skill. You'll notice on the sort of when you're actually the Dwarven Legend, that skill 8 is the skill that you actually use to, you'll see the chains fly towards him. That's the CC that reduces the Defiance and allows you to stop him flying away. But generally, as the Revenant, you've got a lot of teleports, a lot of sort of flashing, which reminded me a little bit of the Guardian, where you teleport to your opponent, you fling in an axe, and you go and teleport straight to it. But I feel that you've got quite a lot. You're able to take a lot of punishment, and I feel that in PvE, Guardians are going to be quite useful, particularly as I feel they might generally be as a support class. For coming in particularly to stack stability and create CC as well. This dwarven the Dwarven Legend makes you very, very tanky indeed, whereas the Malinx is very condition damage and would be very, very good against those enemies. I wanted to come and do a bit of first person footage because I felt that coming in and seeing the Revenant in first person would be pretty interesting and pretty exciting. Because there is a skill, the skill 8, which looks really, really cool in first person. And I think that this is going to really change, first person's really making this a completely different game for a lot of it. I mean, I'm going to turn off the HUD display, the HUD, and we're going to have a look at what it's like. Don't really have a clue what the skills are going to be going on. I just wanted to show you guys the beauty of this, the Heart of Thorns and this top part of the demo, to show you, just how incredible that is going to be. This expansion is going to be absolutely beautiful coming into the game. Using the glider is really going to be effective as well. You will get teleported back up because obviously this is just a demo and you can't sync all the way through. But let's go back to the Revenant, and I'm just going to let you watch the Revenant. How do I feel it compares to the other skill classes? Well, if we look at the Revenant, where is it going to be used? Is it going to be used or how is it going to be used in PvP? In PvP, I feel that it's going to be pretty useful against certain builds. You've got if you go for the Condi style Malinx type legend, then you are going to get the ability to counter those condition damage or the condition heavy, those builds that are very condition heavy, particularly like the Shortbow Ranger, the condition damage Engineer, and the Necromancer as well, that inflicts a lot of different conditions onto you. Those professions and those builds can be countered by this Malinx, by the Malinx legend, because the idea of the Malinx legend is to absorb a lot of conditions, take them all on, and use them against your enemy. And the more conditions you get, the stronger you become. And so that's where you want to take all these condition damage, and then you will be able to convert that into damage against your enemy. And on the flip side, obviously we don't know all the legends currently, we only know the two of them. That the Dwarf Legend, that really does allow a lot of survivability, a lot of tankiness, and this could become the new bunker meta, and I think it might be able to bunker a lot better than a Guardian. For the interesting thing I've found with the Revenant is the energy management. So the energy management system is a part of Guild Wars that was left out of Guild Wars 2. Energy was a system that we had for every class in Guild Wars, or Guild Wars 1. And they've decided to bring it back because I think that they've looked at Guild Wars 2 and looked at Guild Wars 1 and what were the aspects they were missing. Energy management was something that was missing. Now, I have to say I didn't find the energy management too much of an issue, so I don't think it will be as drastic or as crucial to the game as as energy management was in Guild Wars 1. And so that's why I think it's a unique little mechanic that they've brought in just for the Revenant. I don't know if they're going to be bringing it into the other classes. When I did talk to the devs at Rezzed, there was sort of, they didn't really answer it, as they can. But I get the feeling that if it goes well with the Revenant, we could potentially see energy management coming into some of the other classes, maybe particularly the mastery system. Well, already ArenaNet have said that they want to bring in more than the one mastery that they're going to have. Each profession will get... Sorry, when I say mastery, I meant specialization. They're going to bring in a few more specializations. And you can... Obviously, you've got the Ranger and the Druid. Well, imagine the Ranger being some sort of energy effective build or effective role, and you would actually have energy management for the Ranger. That's something that they could bring in, because I think the Revenant's going to be pretty successful with the way that it's set up. How OP do I think it's going to be? I think initially everyone's going to start running Revenants. I think initially, because it's a new class, a lot of people won't know how to play it properly. A lot of people won't know how to counter it properly. I think there'll be a few little surprises, and I think it's going to be an interesting time. It'll be a fun time to play the Revenant. Is it an enjoyable class to play? You look at the Mesmer and the Thief. I count those as the hard classes to play because they're very, very different to anything else. I would say that the Revenant has a little bit of the Guardian because it's got that tankiness, that ability to survive. It's got a little bit of the Necromancer type conditions that it's able to absorb and to inflict, but it's not quite... I think with the Legends, it allows you to change your setup and change the feel of the Revenant, and so the Revenant really doesn't have... You can't pin it down as one particular thing, and that's why I feel that the Revenant could actually provide players with several different ways to play the Revenant. But generally, I enjoyed playing the Revenant. It was a nice sort of having that heavy armor at sort of medium range. When you're coming in, I mean, the fact that it didn't have weapon swap might be a slight problem, but the fact you've got two Legends to sort of swap to, I actually enjoyed, being able to swap, because you can swap fairly quickly, and you get those two healing skills. Generally, I found the Revenant is going to be... I think it's going to be an interesting addition to the Guild Wars universe. I feel that it's going to sit in nicely. It's got some unique mechanics, and I feel that it's going to slot in nicely to Guild Wars 2. It's been very, very well designed indeed. So I'm hoping that you guys have found this video useful. If you're not sure about playing the Revenant, I think this is going to be a nice class to actually start off on. I think it's going to be a class well-rounded, and I hope you've enjoyed this video and this little discussion about the Revenant. Feel free to leave any comments and questions. I'll try and get answers for them as soon as possible. But thanks for watching my video, guys. Catch you on the next one.